Willie D Live.
What's up, family? If it's your first time checking out the show, let me know what city, what state you're coming in from. If you're outside of the U.S., let me know what country you represent. Throw up your flag. Family, I need you to smash up the likes, smash up the likes, smash up the likes. Also, if you have not done so already on YouTube, after you subscribe, there's a little bell next to your subscribe button. Go ahead and click that thing right now so you can get your notifications each time I drop a new video like this. That way you'll be in the loop. Family, we got Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, being called out for swinging from the rotten scrotum of MAGA. Yeah, fam. Yeah. He licking Donald Trump all everywhere. Yeah. Then we got this black woman who was racially profiled at Hilton's hotels. Yeah, fam. Racially profiled. I told her, hey, show us your key or you're going to jail. Show us your key, you're going to jail. You know, they didn't believe she was a guest at the hotel. You know, she tried to go in there and get a little complimentary breakfast, and boom, man, you know, next thing you know, it's on. So we got that going on. We got a video. I'm not sure about the authenticity of it, but it depicts white folks complaining about immigrants driving a Lexus vehicle. I don't believe this. I just don't believe this. This has to be AI generated. But before we go there, let's get into Donald Trump, your president. Yeah, fam. Donald Trump is being accused of war crimes. Check it out.
Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle say they support congressional reviews of U.S. strikes on alleged drug boats that we've been reporting on for months. A report from the Washington Post now claims Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a verbal order to leave no survivors before the first boat strike back in September. When 2 people on board survived, a second strike was allegedly ordered. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine and Republican Congressman Mike Turner were asked about this on Face the Nation.
If that reporting is true, it's a clear violation of the DOD's own laws of war, as well as international laws about the way you treat people who are in that circumstance. And so this rises to the level of a war crime if it's true.
If that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi is following this story for us and joins us now. Good morning, Olivia. This is a jarring report. We heard a claim from a Democratic senator. It could be a war crime. So what are we learning about this alleged second boat strike and the significance?
Yeah, good morning, Errol. It's good to be with you. There are now multiple congressional inquiries into this alleged second boat strike and the legality of it. And those inquiries, Errol, might have legs because you heard there Republicans are interested in some type of investigation into the legality of that second strike. But the headline today is President Trump's reaction to this story. He said he was supportive of what Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth told him, which is that it was legal. Take a listen to what the president said here last night on his way home from Palm Beach.
I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike.
Now, the president was also asked a second time about this, and he said Pete did not order the death of those 2 men. But in short, President Trump is saying he can offer no assurances about what happened. But he is standing by his Secretary of Defense in this and saying that there was no second strike, and they are planning on looking into this a little bit more. Errol?
And also, Olivia, over the weekend, President Trump said Venezuelan airspace should be considered closed. Can you explain what the president means?
Right. Well, last night the president was asked about that specifically. This was a post on True Social that he made over the weekend where he said to airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers to consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. When he was asked about this yesterday, also on that flight home from Palm Beach, the president said, "Don't read anything into it." Quite notable there. The president also said he spoke with the Venezuelan leader Maduro. The president did not comment on the specifics of that conversation, whether it was good or bad. He said he didn't want to talk about it, but it was a phone call that the two leaders did have. And this, of course, comes as there is increased amount of U.S. military presence in the region surrounding Venezuela. Questions about whether there could be imminent land strikes. But the president is saying at this point, don't read too much into that statement he made on Truth Social, saying that the airspace around Venezuela should be considered closed by airline pilots. We should also note that the FAA told CBS News that not necessarily the president has that ability to close that airspace. They can issue NOTAMs around that area, but they can't necessarily consider it closed to airline pilots and people around there.
Very important clarification there. Olivia, thank you very much.
Well. Okay, fam. It looks like to me that a war crime may have been committed. And if that's the case, I want you to understand this. According to international law and U.S. law, war crimes are punishable as follows: fines, imprisonment, or in most severe cases where a victim dies, we got two victims here, the penalty can be death. Yeah, fam. These penalties are determined by courts, which can be international or national, and are subject to appeals. The specific penalties vary by jurisdiction and depend on the nature of the crime. Here are the types of punishment. Imprisonment. Penalties can range from a term of years up to life. Fines. Financial penalties can be imposed in addition to or instead of imprisonment. Death penalty. In the United States, the death penalty can be a possible punishment if the victim dies as a result of the war crime. Let me remind you, fam, that the war crime that we are speaking of right now is when you have a situation where you have a person, a POW, a prisoner of war, or someone who, you know what, let me make sure that I get that right. But let's go, I'll come back to that. But let me skip over to reparations. Courts can also order the convicted person to pay reparations to the victims, okay? And let me make sure I got this one right here, right. Okay, here we go. A penalty of death for a war crime is legally defined as a sanction that a nation may impose in cases of willful killing or other specific grave breaches of the Geneva Conventions, provided that the victim's death resulted from the offense and the sentence is issued by a regularly constituted court after a fair trial. Key criteria for imposing the death penalty for war crimes. The ability to impose a death sentence is not a universal right for prosecuting bodies under international law, which generally restricts its use to the most serious crimes and encourages its abolition. Specific conditions and definitions apply. Resulting in death, the death penalty is typically applicable only if the victim's death was a result of a war crime committed. Grave breaches, willful murder, torture or inhumane treatment, willfully causing great suffering or serious injury, compelling a prisoner of war, or which I just mentioned, or protected person to serve in hostile forces, taking hostages, willfully depriving a protected person of the right of a fair and regular trial. So in this situation, due process was not afforded. You had two surviving victims of the boat attack. There was two surviving victims. They were, in essence, surrendering. They were holding on to wreckage, floating in the water. They were of no threat. And according to reports, Pete Hegseth ordered another strike that blew their bodies in pieces. And Donald Trump says, well, I had no idea of it. And, Pete said he didn't order that second strike. So why was there a second strike? Who believes? Give me a thumbs up, family, if you believe Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, did not order that second strike. He ordered the first one. We know that. He bragged about it. Give me a thumbs up if you believe he did not order the second strike. Thumbs down if you say, man, I was born in the morning, not this morning. Yeah, this looks bad. This looks bad. But here's the deal. Donald Trump was absolutely right when he said he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get away with it. He's absolutely right. They're not going to do anything to him because they're afraid of him. The thing that told me that they were afraid of him most is when they hit him up with 34 convictions and he didn't serve 1 day in jail. Another thing is he consistently defied the judge's orders to stay mute during his trial. And he was going on Truth Social every night, clowning the judge and the prosecutor. I've never seen that before in my life, where somebody who was on trial was disrespecting the judge and the prosecutor on a daily basis. Every day he was calling them all kinds of names. And it was like they didn't do nothing. Couldn't have been me. Couldn't have been me. I would have exercised every power I had. Yeah, man. Contempt of court, straight to jail, Mr. President. Yeah. When he didn't do any jail time, I knew it, fam. I was like, oh, man. This dude, I mean, he could pretty much, and here's the deal. It set a horrible precedent. It set a horrible precedent. Like once he did that, now any future presidents know. See, he set the bar so low to the flow, it can't go no more. So anybody who comes after him knows, well, Trump at least did this much stuff. And if I can just stay within all of the stuff he did, I can't be arrested. They won't arrest me. Damn sure ain't gonna give me the death penalty for committing a war crime. You feel what I'm saying, fam? This is bad. This is absolutely bad. You cannot reward bad behavior. That is a bad idea. Rewarding bad behavior is a bad idea. We all understand that. But somehow when it comes to Donald Trump, it just does not apply. It's like it doesn't matter once it comes to him. It's like people can be against anything. The people that get behind him, they're against everything. They're against anything and everything until Trump does it or until Trump approves of it. And the next thing you know, they just conveniently, they don't even think about it. They just automatically just switch codes immediately. Immediately, they switch code. That's problematic, fam. You cannot have effective leadership when you have this type of leadership. It can't work. It does not work. Not everybody is going to play ball. There are people out there who really do believe that a politician's life ain't no more valuable than theirs. A cop's life ain't no more valuable than theirs. Their family's lives ain't no more valuable than theirs. Their career, their job is no more valuable than theirs. Their responsibilities is no more valuable than their responsibilities. So when you tell a person to just shut up and take it, everybody ain't gonna just shut up and take it. Sometimes people are going to decide to exercise whatever those alienable rights are, or those constitutional rights are. They are going to exercise them. Yeah, this is bad. This is bad. Donald Trump attempted to clean up the political firestorm surrounding Defense Secretary President Pete Hegseth. And this happened on Sunday, but it only deepened the crisis as a sting of controversy statements left viewers convinced the president was quietly distancing himself from the most explosive allegation in the Caribbean boat strike scandal. Yeah, here's a story from Atlanta Black Star. During an airborne press gaggle aboard Air Force One, Trump was asked directly and repeatedly whether he believed reporting that Hegseth issued a spoken order to kill everybody aboard a suspected drug smuggling vessel on September 2nd, including 2 survivors who were shown on drone video clinging to the wreckage after the initial strike. Trump's first instinct was to distance himself from the entire episode and to lean hard on Hegseth's denial. I don't know anything about it, said Trump. He said he didn't say it. I believe him 100%. Wow. When a reporter followed up and asked if he would be okay with the second strike that killed survivors, Trump again tried to duck responsibility by pointing back to Hegseth. He said he didn't do it. So I don't have to make that decision. He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision. I thought the president always have to make decisions. I thought the president was ultimately responsible for whatever went down. Remember now, Hegseth is Donald Trump's appointee. So think of it like this, fam. If we have a group, right? And let's say there's membership within the group. I go out and bring somebody into the group that disrupts the group. Maybe they steal from somebody in the group. Maybe they're irresponsible. Maybe they have a record that's inconsistent with what we stand by, what our mission is. Maybe they've done something inappropriate with children. Maybe they're just bad energy. Who's going to be responsible? Yeah, they absolutely, we want to get rid of that person, right? Absolutely, we're going to shun that person. But who are y'all going to hold accountable for that? Who's responsible? If I bring him in, I'm responsible for him. This is why people hold their contacts closely to themselves. They hold their contacts close because they don't want to give their contacts to just anybody and somebody mess around and burn a bridge and then it comes back on them. Because that person that they bring in, is pretty much unknown to the group. They're hoping, they're banking that you vetted that person enough to make sure that that person can't harm the group if you bring them around. It's the same thing when you're dating people. You should be very careful about the people you bring around your family, because those same people can harm your family. They can bring negative energy into your circle. You don't want to do that. Anybody you date should be an asset. Anybody that you date should be an asset, not a liability to your family. They should be, before you bring them into the circle, it's like, this person just made the circle stronger. Yeah. Man, he making our circle look suspicious. He make us look weak. She weak. She make the circle weak. She not really adding anything. That's the way you should look. Even before you bring the person into your circle, before you bring them into your space. Does this person compliment me? Or is this person a liability? Is this person somebody that makes me look bad? A lot of us add on to our relationship. We bring people we go into relationships with people that make us fall back. People that make us look bad. People that don't bring value to our lives. You gotta be calculating about the type of person that you bring into your personal space like that. That person got to be a compliment to you. That person has to add value. And in life, if you're not helping, you're hurting. That's life. In any situation, you can look at it. If you're not helping, you're hurting. Even if you're doing nothing, you're hurting. You're either helping or you're hurting in life. Ain't no middle ground. There is no straddling the fence on this one. You're either helping or you're hurting. If you got a business and you got people working for you, they're helping or they're hurting. If you have a customer who comes into your establishment, that customer is either helping you or hurting you. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have customers who come into your space and the money ain't worth it. That little money that they bring to you, it ain't even worth it. Even if it's big money, it's not even worth it because they are so toxic. Perhaps they're loud and belligerent. Perhaps they complain too much. Perhaps they don't really tip well. Maybe they're rude to your staff. It could be a variety of things, but they don't really bring anything of value to your business. That person is expendable, and you should look at them as such. Get rid of them. They're not that important. And the reason why I say they're not that important, because they obviously don't believe that you're that important, where they respect your business. So if they don't respect you, why are you respecting them? If they don't respect your business, why do you respect their business? Why do you respect them patronizing your business? You should not do that. That is not wise to me. let's get into this story, man. This is a wild, wild west story right here. This story, this black lady who went into the Hilton hotel. She was staying at the Hilton hotel, and apparently someone working at the hotel thought that she didn't belong. So she smooth went off. Check it out.
Racist as hell. It was 5 to 6 other white people that were sitting at that table. You didn't ask not now one of them. What's your name?
My name is Raj.
Okay, so what you told me I don't have a room here? Oh, you did not.
Yes,
No,
I asked you,
bullshit.
ma'am.
Bullshit.
Ma'am, are you staying here? I asked you.
No,
at the
bullshit.
breakfast-
Say something so we don't talk over each other.
Yeah, fine.
You
That's
approached me in that breakfast area. You said, before you said anything to me, do you have a room here? I said,
I
sir,
asked
good
you.
morning to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I say good morning to you? I
Yeah.
said, that's not how you fucking approach people. I said, I do stay here. You said, no, you do not. I said, yes, I do. I said,
No.
how do you know?
I asked-
How do you know I don't stay here? You said, because I don't have a key. I said, I don't have a key.
Yes, ma'am.
You said, I'm sure you don't have a key. You came from the front door. I said, check that motherfucking camera and see where the fuck I came from before
And
I
I
came
asked
through
you,
that
what
front
room
door.
are you in?
And it doesn't
Then
matter.
you
Not
don't
have a
you
room.
don't have to raise
No,
your
because
voice.
you're full of shit. And that's
No,
why I
ma'am.
went and got my phone. Because when
ma'am.
when I told you to check them cameras and see where the fuck I came from, you would have seen I came out of a room. Because I came through that front door, that's an accessible door for people that have paid here, correct? So did you check your cameras?
I haven't checked it yet, ma'am.
Okay, do you know if I have a room here or not?
I don't. That's why I asked you
Okay,
for a room number.
so did you ask anybody else that sat at that fucking breakfast area and asked them if they had a room or
They
not?
don't- ma'am, they
It
don't
doesn't
know.
matter. That's
Ma'am.
an accessible door for people that have paid. Just because I didn't
I
come
didn't-
down this hallway does not mean that I did not pay. Call the police, and that's why I'm recording you. That it was racist as hell. It was 5 to 6 other white people that were sitting at that table. You didn't ask not now one of them. It's
How is it racist?
because you addressed me and not them.
Yes, there's been here since 8 o'clock, ma'am.
So because you didn't see me come in, I came in the middle of the night because we have been driving.
Fine.
So you can't tell me. What you should have did was your due diligence and check that camera and see where the fuck I came from before you approached me in that breakfast area. The building and came through the front so I could get breakfast for me and my child.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize.
Change your approach on how you approach people, especially early in the motherfucking morning and on a holiday at that. You approach people and you say good morning. You say happy holidays. And if you don't celebrate it, I respect it. But you're going to approach people the way that
Yes,
you
ma'am.
approach
But
any other human
that's
being.
why I-
Did you or did you not tell me that I don't have a key and you knew for
Yeah,
sure I did not
I
have a
did say
key?
that, but I
Was that
asked you
appropriate
before.
of you? Was that appropriate of you? Because here's my motherfucking key right here. So was that appropriate of you to say that?
No, ma'am.
A happy Thanksgiving and have a good fucking day.
Okay. First of all, stop all that damn cussing, man. What's all that for, man? You ain't got to do all of that. You don't have to do all that. I got it, sister. You're mad. You know, sister girl, you're upset. I got it. I get it. You're upset. You should be. You're well within your right to be upset like that. But let me tell you what the cussing does for your case. It automatically makes people associate you with ignorance. It makes people associate you with being uncivilized. It makes people associate you with being unruly, even though you're the victim. Listen, I'm with you, baby girl. I'm on your side. But I'm only saying this out of love because I've been there before myself. Man, I used to be like that. Man, I give it to you, man, right on the spot. Give it to you totally just raw and uncut. Your mama, your daddy, all that. But let me tell you something, fam. If somebody, that's the whole saying. If somebody walks up and they hear two fools arguing, they don't know which one is the fool. If they see two people, let me back up, you hear two people arguing, you don't know who the fool is, right? You don't know. So the idea is to whoop them with the brain, right? Even if you typically are the type of person that's loud and explosive and you're aggressive, you should know in this type of setting, bring it down, and also know that you're being recorded. You almost have to put on a performance because you don't know when this video is going to air again and who's going to be watching it. You don't know if law enforcement is going to play it back. You don't know if you're going to find yourself in a courtroom and they have to play it back. And when they hear you talking like that, whether you was wronged or not, it's people going to be like, they already don't want to have mercy for you. They already try to look at you like you're uncivilized already. If they hear something like that, oh man, you just confirmed what they already wanted to believe. So you hit them with tact. You hit them with class. You hit them with knowledge and information. And that's how you break them down. They actually expect you to behave like that because some of them have been taught to believe that's the way you act already. And they're ready for that. Because as soon as you start getting loud, they say, I'm going to call the police. You know, they weaponize the police. Exactly what Buddy just did. He started calling me, get off of me. She's loud and scaring me. They're going to call the police. So you maintain civility. Even if you want to snap, you want to go all the way off. They know how you do it. Now, the woman obviously was a guest. He verified it eventually that she was a guest. You know, she showed him, hey, look at my key, all of that, right? I've been to restaurants where they have food out and you walk into the restaurant, the much nicer restaurants especially, they usually have a hostess. And when you walk in, they will, ask you to show you your key. You know, you present your key as soon as you walk in, then everybody cool. Now, I'm not familiar with restaurants that have other multiple entrances where you can come in from a different direction and you're inside of the restaurant. Apparently, she came in from an exit door, right? She came in from some type of exit door, and she didn't come through the front part. So, perhaps dude thought that, she wasn't a guest. She said he asked her for a key. He asked her for her key. She got offended because, according to her, he didn't ask any of the white people that was there for a key. I don't really know where the truth is on this because I have seen situations, as the woman explained, where they will ask you for your key. Well, they asked me for my key, but I didn't see them asking anybody else. That don't mean they didn't ask anybody else. It's just that I didn't see them ask anybody else. And I've also been in situations where I was asked to show my key, and somebody who came after me, I was watching. They wasn't asked to show their key. So I've been in those type of situations. I've been in situations where you walk in and everybody has to show their key. Everybody walk in, shows their key, and then you're good to go. So I'm not sure, what the truth was right here. What could have happened is once he was confronted, if he was being authentic, once he was confronted with the facts from the woman, he could have said, ma'am, I did ask others for the key, or I didn't ask them because they were already here. I think he did say something like that. They were already here and they've been here since 8 o'clock. So I didn't have to ask them for a key, but just because they walked in and they sat down and started eating don't mean that they were guests. So I think the way you solve this thing is that just ask everybody for a key. Every single person that walks through the door, you ask them for a key. And once that starts, you turn, you say, oh, excuse me, did he ask you for a key? Yeah, we showed him the key. And problem solved. Just ask everybody for a key. And the problem is absolutely solved. But that loud, aggressive, cussing, just god damn, cussing, that motherfucking, come on, man. Come on, we got to do better than that. You got to know. I ain't gonna say we, because I'm already doing better. I've been working on myself, but you got to do better. I told this story before, but most of you probably haven't heard it. I was at a Popeyes once in Louisiana. I was on tour. I was coming back into Houston. I was on my way back. I had ended the tour and I had stopped in Louisiana. I think it was, I stopped in Baton Rouge and I was on my way, not Baton Rouge, New Orleans. We had played a date in New Orleans. So I'm on my way out of New Orleans and we stopped to get some chicken. And there was a black lady behind the counter and she was very rude. At first she was cool. I was like, hey, excuse me. We walked in during rush hour and I said, hey, can y'all clean the chairs? We wanted to get out, stretch, sit down, eat, So it was like, we wanted to eat inside of the lobby. So I said, can you clean the tables? And one of the workers was like, yeah, we can do that. So after about a good 5 minutes or so, I still didn't see anybody making their way towards the table. Everybody just going about their business. And I still didn't see anybody trying to make their way toward the table. And we're standing there and nobody gave me an update or anything. They didn't say, we'd be right there, nothing. It just was like I wasn't even there. So I'm getting frustrated. So I was like, I said, excuse me. So I directed my comments to the manager. Excuse me. Can you get somebody to clean this table? We said we was going to get black woman. And I say black woman because it really saddens me when it's my own people that do it. That really saddens me. Because I'm like, man, we catch enough hell already. When we get in a position, let's look out for each other. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, I ain't saying show me no favor, but show me some relief, man. Give me a little relief. Damn. Show some love. She like, I said we'll get over that. And immediately I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to jump over the counter. Yeah. But I catch myself. I started looking around for that 800 number. Back then, they used to have the 800 number posted. I'm not sure if it's posted nowadays because I haven't even eaten at Popeyes in about 3 years. Oh, man. I used to have some good times eating Popeyes on Tuesdays. Anyway, fam. So I find the number and I call the 800 number. And I get the people on the phone and I tell that woman, I'm standing there in front of the workers and I'm like, yeah, I'm at Popeyes at such location in Louisiana, And yeah, I'm an artist. I own a record company and I spend X amount of hundreds of dollars at Popeyes every month. I'm lying, I don't spend no hundreds of dollars every month. But I was like, I spend hundreds of dollars at Popeyes every month. And I don't deserve to be treated like this. I think that her behavior is inconsistent with Popeyes' model, business model. I'm talking all kind of slick stuff, right? But I'm like, she is a bad representation of Popeyes. I've never been treated like this, And I said, which they was like, well, and it was the weekend. And they said, well, we'll get somebody to get back with you. And I said, no, I want to speak with the president. I want to speak with a CEO. So I need to talk to CEO or president. Family, they had the president of Popeyes to send me a message Monday morning, fax. It was a while ago, fax, by fax. And the message read that the girl had been fired. They had addressed the situation. She had been fired. So I called the location to ask for her by name. And the guy on the phone's like, well, she's not here. And I said, well, can you tell me what time she gets in? He's like, well, she's no longer working here. And I said, well, can you tell me what location she's at now? And he said, and he paused. It's like he went to talk to somebody. It's like he was talking to somebody or whatever, and they was feeding him information. He said, she's no longer with the company. That's right. I did it to her, but she did it to herself. Now, I could have done that loud stuff. I could have gotten loud and belligerent. I could have even got physical. But what would have happened if that would have happened? I would have ended up in jail. Could have ended up hurting myself, physically, because you know what you're going to do, but you don't know what somebody else going to do. Hell, for all I know, she could have been waiting in wait. She could have been just laying in wait. She could have been ready for me the whole time. Ran over there, getting up on and shooting. Bing, bing, bing. Lights out. So I whooped her with the pen. This is what them folks is really good at doing, whipping you with the pen. So we got these brains that oftentimes we only use a very small percentage of. We have to learn how to be a little bit more patient and more calculating with how we move to get what we want. Your actions have to be consistent with the outcome that you want. And I didn't believe that those actions were totally consistent with the outcome that she wanted, because it could have went left really fast. If she had had that same energy and the police had pulled up, they would have turned on her. I've seen them do it before. They would have turned on her. I'm pretty sure they would have turned on her. But they would have already went there with the idea that she was the villain. Because, they love to make us the villain in their stories. They love just automatically making us the villain. I remember a guy got shot in Texas once. This was up near Dallas. This black guy and a white guy was fighting. The black guy was defending the white woman's honor. Her boyfriend was whooping on her. The brother stepped in. He didn't even know them. He just stepped in like, hey, man, come on. And the dude starts swinging on him. So they tussling on the ground and stuff. And the police roll up and shoot him. Shoot the brother and kill the brother. Just automatically making him the victim. Didn't even ask any questions. Just shot him, killed him. So they love making us the villain. They already want to believe that we're the villain in every situation. And this guy was a minority himself. But again, I'm not really sure. I know this happens a lot. I know that they do profile a lot. But I'm willing to give the sister the benefit of doubt, though. Just simply because they love making us the villain. Going in on Rocky, Sylvester Stallone. Man, this dude, man, they got a resurfaced video of Stallone glazing Donald Trump. I'm talking about riding scrotum, just swinging from it like a tree, like taller in the jungle. Yeah, check it out.
Did Rocky, if you remember, the first image was a picture of Jesus, and it says Resurrection AC Club. I found a church that had been converted to a boxing ring. So the image pans down from Jesus onto Rocky being hit. And at that moment, he was the chosen person, and that's how I began the journey. Something was going to happen. This man was going to go through a metamorphosis and change lives, just like President Trump. And I'll just say this, and I mean it. When George Washington defended his country, He had no idea that he was going to change the world. Because without him, you can imagine what the world would look like. Guess what? We got the second George Washington. Congratulations!
Without George Washington, what would the world look like? I'm going to go out on a limb and say, a better place? Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, without George Washington, the world would be a better place. Absolutely. George Washington exhibited racism through his own ownership of enslaved people and discriminatory views, his discriminatory views. He showed a complex and evolving perspective on slavery later in life. But make no mistake about it, he was an owner of human beings. He was a slave owner. He believed in discriminatory practices. He was a lifelong slave owner who profited from their labor and took steps to prevent their freedom, such as the slave shuffle to evade Pennsylvania's emancipation law. Despite this, he still was known as one of the founding fathers. Yeah. Yeah. This guy was no better than the next guy. All of this, trying to take advantage of slavery and Black people in life, and then when you get to the end, try to start acting like you have some type of heart, you have some type of empathy, you're a changed person. No, he was a deadbeat human being from day one till the day he died. George Washington was a POS. George Washington was trash. And this is why slavery was upheld. And it's always been like this, family. When you start talking about the people's resistance, the people can resist all they want. But it's those people that are in office who have the real power. They can push the agenda, they can push their narrative in any way that they want to, and they can get their constituents to get on board. So from Jump Street, there never needed to be a push for slavery. They did it because they were uncivilized. They did it because they were lazy. They did it because they were thieves and murderers and rapists. That's why they instituted slavery. That's why they upheld slavery. That's why your congressmen and women upheld slavery. That's why a lot of them owned slaves. That's why you couldn't get rid of it. That's why it lasted for so long. And that's why they don't want to pay reparations right now, because there are descendants of slave owners who are in Washington right now. And they're trying to hold on to that lie, that fantasy, that somehow, some way they got it out the mud. George Washington was trash, dumpster juice, straight up. There was nothing decent about him. So if Sylvester Stallone believes that Trump is the second coming of George Washington, ooh, that says a mouthful about what he really thinks of Trump. And if he really understands George Washington's life, if he understands his legacy, which he does, he already said, I love the mythology. I love that. I love that. So he thinks that Trump is this mythical character. He understands because he did his research. That means he approves of the type of man that Trump is and the type of initiatives that he supports and he promotes. So that means that Sylvester Stallone is dumpster juice. That's right, I said it. Sylvester Stallone is trash, human waste. Rocky would have never. You know, I hear people saying all the time, that's why I don't ever want to meet my favorite celebrity. And I oftentimes would say, nah, man, life is short. Take a chance, man. You know, let them show their butt if that's what they want to do. Let them do that. But you be you. And if you have an opportunity to meet your favorite celebrity, you know, if they let you down, let it be. But that's on them, not on you. If I had a chance to meet somebody that I admired and I didn't hear a whole lot of bad things about this person, you know, prior, I would take the opportunity to meet that person. That's part of evolution. That's part of life. That's part of growth. You know, I would take the opportunity to meet that person. That's part of like experiences, right? That would be an experience. So it's either going to be a good experience or it's going to be a bad experience. If it's a good experience, that's even greater. If it turns out to be a bad experience, yeah, well, that's what it was. But that's on him, not me. I grew up listening to Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is, in my opinion, the greatest artist in the history of civilization, besides myself. Stevie Wonder is one of the greatest human beings. He has been a blessing to society. The amount of people he's touched, that he's given positive energy to, who he's helped in during tumultuous times, is immeasurable. So Stevie is the man to me. You can't tell me nothing bad about Stevie Wonder. When I had an opportunity to meet him, I didn't think twice. Now, I knew that he was a man. And I, you know, even though I heard all of these songs, if you listen to them, Stevie sounds angelic. You know, he sounds like the second coming. He sounds like, you know, he got God's bat line. You know, he sounds like him and God be talking all the time. Like, what's up, Steve? Hey, ain't nothing, man. How you doing? You know, he sounds like he got a personal connect with God, you know? Stevie Wonder seemed like he visiting from heaven or something, you know? But I knew, being an artist, I've been around other artists, I know these are, at the end of the day, these are simply human beings, and incredibly gifted human beings, but human beings nonetheless. So when I met Stevie, and he was everything that I thought he was as far as the way that he greeted me, you know, it made the whole experience even better. It made everything that I thought about him worthwhile. Every dollar that I ever invested in an album, it made it worthwhile. Every moment that I listened to the music, it made it worthwhile. And it actually reinforced those lyrics, right? Stevie Wonder is the man to me. And so all's well, ended well in regards to that. I'm trying to think of somebody who I met who was straight trash, who I had a higher opinion of, but they were straight trash. The only two people that I know that was straight trash, that I had heard that was trash, and I really didn't want to meet them, but I was pressured into meeting them by mutual acquaintances, was both happened to be in the NBA. Charles Barkley and Scottie Pippen. Charles Barkley and Scottie Pippen, them motherfuckers. Boy, I'd heard many, many times that they was trash. And I didn't care nothing about meeting them. I turned it down a few times. And then, you know, in both times I met them at clubs. I met each one of them at a club. And each time a friend of mine who was a mutual acquaintance said, come on, man, he wanna, man, he'd be cool, come, I want you to meet him. No, he ain't like that. He cool, we cool. Come to find out, trash, straight trash, dumpster juice. This is why I care nothing about meeting Michael Jordan, because the way he did Chameleonaire, I'm gonna go for them knees. Yeah. So anyway, fam, Sylvester Stallone, he's dead to me. Rocky is dead. The movie Rocky is dead to me. The movie Rocky is dead to me, man. It's dead. I can't rock with it, man. I can't rock with Rocky. Yeah, man. So turns out that Arnold is actually the wiser one. Rocky would hate Sylvester right now. Yeah, Rambo was a captured soldier, and Trump does not like captured soldiers. So why is he greasing? Why is he glazing? But I will agree to this. Trump is definitely a fictional character. He is definitely a fictional character. Yeah. Yeah, somebody give Rocky a cookie, man. Somebody get that dude a cookie and advocate for our homeless veterans. Yeah, I've lost all respect for Sylvester Stallone. Enjoyed the movies, but that ain't going to erase this. Yeah, that won't erase this. Sylvester Stallone is dumpster juice. Moving on, fam. So there's this video of some white people appearing to not like some immigrants who are driving, or an immigrant who's driving a Lexus truck. And to be frank, they're just straight up hating on the dude. Now, again, I'm not sure if this is AI generated or not, but I mean, take a look at it for yourself, fam, and tell me what you think.
Is what a MAGA mind is.
Brand spanking new Lexus SUV. How is that possible? Integrate into the same neighborhood that I worked my entire life to get into. I don't understand it.
Here's this guy right here in his brand new Lexus.
There he is,
right there. Right there. That guy right
It's
there.
what Make America Great Again has always meant to certain people. It's never been about patriotism. It's always been about hierarchy, about making sure black people stay in a place that makes them comfortable. Because let's be honest, imagine living in a country where 400 years you receive every privilege available. Free labor for almost 2 centuries, millions of acres of free land through the Homestead Act, government assistance when black folks were excluded, white veterans received GI Bills as 10th in college when black veterans who served the country faithfully did not, white home ownership through FHA loans that black people didn't get while black families were redlined into poverty. There was affirmative action for white folks long before the phrase was ever even created. Let me name a few more. Tax benefits, union protections, government contracts, Social Security programs that originally excluded black labor, corporate subsidies, banking systems built on predatory denial of black access, policing designed to guard white prosperity, and the unspoken privilege of always being seen and deserving, and all that for generations. And yet here we are, after everything designed to hold us back, we still here. It makes him a failure. We're still educating ourselves, still building businesses. It makes him a failure. Still growing wealth, still buying homes, still pulling up in our Lexuses. That makes him a failure. We still thrive in the ways this country has never planned for us to thrive. And it makes them feel like failures. Because that's what they are. That's why it bothers them. Because to them, our success is what it is. it makes them failures. They feel better when they can look down on us. They feel safer when we have to struggle. They feel whole when we are broken. So when they say make America great again, what they are really saying is let's go back and reset the hierarchy. Let's put them back in their place, which is beneath us. Let's strip away any progress that they've made. Let's take away all their rights, all their opportunities, all the wins that make them feel equal. Because for us to feel equal, it makes them feel like failures. Because they've had every advancement known to man, and yet here we are. And that's why our excellence is so powerful, y'all. Because every time we disrupt the narrative they depended on for 400 years, every time we win and we break the system that was never designed for us to succeed, every time we shine, we expose the weakness of a structure built on stolen labor, stolen land, and stolen wealth. It's their failure. This is why our success is revolutionary. It's not just about your car, your house, or your lifestyle. It's a reminder that despite every barrier placed in our way, we still here, thriving, winning, and redefining greatness in our terms. And they're still what they are. Failures. Now drop a black fist in the comments and share this with someone who needs to hear this gem.
Ooh, man. That was smoking. I ain't got no problem with that. Shoe fit, wear it, man. Shoe fit, wear it. If it don't apply, let it fly. She is absolutely right. For us to win, for us to be equal, makes them feel like failures. Ooh, that's deep right there, fam. That's deep to have a 400-year start. And you look around and you see black people passing you up financially. That's got to do something to the ego. That's got to do something to the ego. And she's right. That's what this is really about. That's why they burned down Tulsa. That's why they did it. That's why they burned down all the other towns that existed where black people were self-sufficient and independent. They were self-contained. We had our own banking system, our own schools, our own churches, which ain't that big of a deal because we still got a whole bunch of churches and not really a lot of prosperity. But we have our own hospitals. Everything that it took, grocery stores, everything that it took for society to have to be vibrant, to be progressive, we had all of that, and we were self-governed, and they didn't like that. So each time they undermined and they figured out a way to destroy it. Yeah, and what they did oftentimes is they weaponized law enforcement and the laws. They just redlining. You know what? We're not going to allow anybody to get any loans that lives in these zip codes. Anybody that live on this side of the track, they can't get a loan. Somebody live on this side of that, we can give them a loan. Doesn't matter if this person over here is overqualified. Because they got the wrong skin color, in our opinion, we're not going to give them any action. We're not going to give them loans to buy houses so that they can get ahead and build generational wealth. We're not going to do that because we some hating ass motherfuckers. We hate us. We don't want them to have it. That's plenty to go around, but we just don't want it to go around to them, right? It's always been about that, fam. It's always been about jealousy. It's always been about jealousy. The idea of police pulling young black men over driving a nice car is old as Methuselah, right? They've always done that. Jealous. Oh, they see you driving a nice car. The nicest car they got is the police issued car. So they mad. Let me pull them over and harass him, make his day bad. Let me go in there and tear up the interior of his car. Let me put these dogs in here and try to see if I can find me some dope. Let me get these little ugly ass German Shepherd dogs licking all over the man's seats and stuff. Just violate them. They do that out of jealousy. She's absolutely right. They do it out of jealousy. So I'm not sure if that particular video hadn't been altered, but I do know that that type of mentality does exist. When you buy a house in their neighborhood, it ain't always you buying the house and them thinking that you buying the house and it's going to bring the value down. It's not that. It's not that. Oftentimes, it's as simple as, wait a minute. I don't want him to be on my level. I don't want her to have a house like mine on my level. I don't want her to have a house. I don't want her to be able to have a house in my neighborhood. I'm such. I'm this cup. I'm supposed to have more than them. So if she has a house equal to my house and equal or greater value than my house, what does that say about me? And I got all this privilege. I'm not really getting anywhere. I thought I was going places. Looks like the blacks did it again. That's why. That's where a lot of this hatred come from. A whole lot of the hatred come from that. A lot of the hatred come from the idea that you can't just be able to take stuff anymore. They can't just take your stuff without you busting at them, without you putting something on their ass. They can't do it. You know, they can't just come in your house and rape your little girl like they used to be able to do. A lot of it is that. A lot of times when you hear them get mad about black women being loud, it's because they used to just RAP black women. They used to just RAP black women. They used to just take it when they wanted it. And black women, it's the last person they had to worry about. She bow down and take it. Now she loud and saying F you. Now they mad. You ever notice how you see so many times you see white dudes trying to fight black women and arguing with black women? You see how many video clips out there of that? You hardly ever see a black man antagonizing a white woman. In fact, you don't see it. The only time you see a black man going at it with a white woman is when a white woman initiate. When she initiate the confrontation. Other than that, you don't see black men out here targeting white women, trying to fight white women and arguing with white women. You don't see that. But they do it, and that is because they have a sense of entitlement. Like, I own you. You shut up. We used to own you. We used to just take it. Yeah, man, think about that, fam. Think about that. Yeah. It's like they mad that they have to compete. That's why they want that privilege, because they don't want to compete. Yeah, they do not want to compete. And that's why even some of our so-called friends do not stand up against white supremacy, because they want that privilege. Hey, man, you cool and everything, man, but I'm going to ride this privilege thing on out. That's what that's about. That's absolutely what that's about. That's my time, fam. Y'all enjoy the rest of the morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are in the world.